Breaking news tonight, and I want you to take a breath and listen closely because there's a lot of noise flying around, and it's easy to get pulled into panic. In the last several hours, claims have spread that the rebate checks tied to tariff revenue are now moving forward in a more concrete way, and that there's been a major shift in who gets reviewed first. The story people are circulating is that a revised eligibility approach has been approved at the executive level, and that fixed income households, especially seniors who rely on Social Security, may be treated as higher priority than earlier drafts suggested. If you receive Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, the reason this matters is simple. Even a small change in how priority is defined can change the order your file gets reviewed. And that can change when you hear anything at all. Here's the part that's making this feel sudden. Over the past several days, you may have seen confident posts saying the plan was already finalized, then other posts saying it was completely fake, then a new wave saying it's real again. That swing is exactly why you should treat any overnight confirmation with caution unless it is posted directly by official government sources. What can be true at the same time is that discussions and internal planning can happen, and documents can circulate, while the public-facing messaging remains vague or incomplete. That gap is where rumors explode. So tonight, instead of feeding the fear, I'm going to walk you through what would have to be true for a program like this to function, what a priority list usually means in practice, and what you should do to protect yourself from scams and delays if a payment system does roll out. If this rebate program is tied to tariff collections, the structure would be different from the stimulus checks most people remember. A stimulus package usually involves Congress, a signed law, and a very public rollout. A tariff-funded rebate concept, at least as it's being described online, would be administered through the executive branch and financial agencies, with payment mechanics built around existing data the government already has. In plain terms, the whole system would rely on identity verification, income information, and benefits records that already exist inside federal databases. And if there is one group whose income and identity information is usually already well documented, it's seniors and disabled recipients who receive benefits every month. That's why the priority seniors angle is believable in a procedural sense, even when the viral posts are not reliable. If agencies want faster processing, they naturally start with populations that are easier to verify. People who receive Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or survivor benefits often have stable records, consistent deposit routes, and fewer moving parts than a household with multiple jobs, self-employment income, or complex tax filings. So when you hear the phrase fast verify, think of it less as a political statement and more as a data statement. The smoother the records, the faster the system can move. The claims going around say that the White House confirmed an updated structure and that the U.S. Department of the Treasury circulated guidance that elevated low-income, fixed-income seniors into a higher priority review lane. Whether or not that exact description is accurate, the underlying idea is straightforward. If a payment program tries to target households under the most pressure from rising costs, then fixed-income seniors would score high under almost any vulnerability model. Fixed income means your payment doesn't rise just because groceries, rent, utilities, and medications climb. That mismatch is exactly what impact scoring systems are built to capture. So let's talk about what a scoring approach could look like, because this is where a lot of confusion comes from. People hear eligible and assume it is a simple yes or no switch. In reality, large programs often use tiers. A tier does not necessarily mean someone else is excluded. It often means the order of review and the order of payment are different. A common structure is an early tier for the most verifiable and most financially vulnerable households, a middle tier for broader working households with straightforward tax records, and a later tier for cases needing extra review, identity matching, or updated information. If a tier system exists here, the senior shift people are talking about would mean this. Low-income seniors are no longer treated as a maybe later group. They would be placed in a lane where their files are reviewed earlier, using Social Security and tax records to confirm identity and income status. In practical terms, that could mean seniors see portal updates sooner, receive notices sooner, or have fewer steps to complete than other groups. And that would also explain why some working households might experience a slower timeline than they expected if the system is rebalanced to move the most vulnerable forward. Now, a lot of posts are throwing around hard thresholds, like annual income under a certain amount or monthly Social Security below a specific dollar figure. Treat those exact numbers as unverified unless they appear in official guidance. That said, it's reasonable to expect that any priority model would weigh things like total household income, whether income is fixed, whether the person receives means-tested benefits like SSI, and whether prior tax filings are present or not. A household receiving only benefits with no additional wages is easier to verify because the income source is singular and documented. A household with seasonal work, multiple employers, or self-employment can still be eligible in many programs, but it may be slower to confirm. One of the most important details in the rumor stream is the idea that seniors with very low income could be processed without filing anything new. That's possible in a world where agencies decide to rely on existing benefit records rather than requiring an application. If you receive benefits through direct deposit, the government already has a payment route on file. If your identity information matches across systems, the administrative burden drops sharply. That's the hands-off process people are hoping for, and it's also why scammers target seniors with messages that say, "You must apply now," or "Pay a fee to release your rebate." If a legitimate program uses automatic verification, nobody should be charging you to sign up, and nobody should be asking for your full Social Security number through a text message or social media direct message. So what should you do right now if you are a senior or disabled recipient and you're hearing that you may be in a priority group? First, focus on the boring basics that prevent delays in any government payment system. Make sure your mailing address is correct in your Social Security records. Make sure your direct deposit information is current if you use it. If you have changed banks, changed account numbers, moved recently, or had mail issues, those are the kinds of practical problems that create payment delays even when you are fully eligible. Second, keep an eye on your official online accounts, not random links. If you see messages about identity verification or account confirmation, only respond through official sites you access directly, not through a link in a message. Third, prepare for the possibility that you might be asked to confirm something simple, like an address, a deposit preference, or an identity check. That does not mean you are in trouble. It often means the system is trying to avoid sending money to the wrong place. If you are asked to confirm details through official channels, do it promptly. Priority lanes only help if your record can be matched cleanly. There's another worry I want to address clearly because it causes a lot of anxiety. People are concerned that receiving a rebate could reduce their monthly benefits. In most benefit systems, one-time relief payments are often treated differently from earned income, but the exact treatment depends on how the program is legally defined and how agencies classify it. So instead of assuming either outcome, the safe approach is to wait for explicit official language about whether the payment is counted as income for SSI resource rules or benefit calculations. If you are an SSI recipient, you already know that classification details matter. Do not rely on a viral clip for that. Wait for formal guidance. And now let's talk about the biggest danger in all of this: the emotional rush. When money is tight, any headline promising relief feels like oxygen. That's exactly why misinformation spreads fastest around seniors and benefits. Here's how you keep yourself safe while still staying prepared. If you see a claim that includes a "confirmed tonight" tone, check whether it comes from an official statement or an official agency release. If it does not, treat it as unconfirmed. If someone tells you to apply through a strange website, to pay a fee, to provide banking details by phone, or to respond to a text urgently, treat it as a scam. Real federal agencies do not pressure you with countdown timers and direct messages. If a real program is moving forward, the next things you would likely see are clear public notices explaining who is eligible, how eligibility is determined, whether an application exists, and how payment delivery works for people with direct deposit versus people who receive checks. You would also see consistent language repeated across official communications. When the details are real, they become boringly consistent. When the details are made up, they are dramatic and constantly changing. So here's what I want you to take away tonight. The core idea being discussed online is that a tariff-related rebate payment, if implemented, would likely prioritize groups that are both vulnerable and easy to verify. Fixed income seniors and disability recipients fit that description. A tiered review system would be a logical way to operationalize that priority. But until you see official guidance, do not treat specific amounts, specific dates, or specific "you are automatically approved" promises as guaranteed facts. Treat them as possibilities and prepare your records so that if it happens, you don't get stuck in a delay lane because of a simple mismatch. If you're watching this as someone living on a fixed income, I know how exhausting it is to feel like every week brings a new rumor, a new hope, and then a new letdown. The best thing you can do is hold on to your calm, protect your personal information, and keep your official records up to date. Relief programs, when they do come, are supposed to reduce stress, not add to it. If and when clear instructions are released, the path should be straightforward and you should never have to pay anyone or rush through a suspicious link to receive what you're entitled to. In the meantime, keep your focus on what you can control. Confirm your address and deposit information are accurate with the Social Security Administration if you receive benefits. If you file taxes or have questions about your records, rely on official resources from the Internal Revenue Service and verified government communications. And if you see an update that sounds too explosive to be true, slow down, verify it, and don't let anyone rush you into sharing personal details. If you found this helpful, stay connected for clear explanations as new official information becomes available. Take care of yourself tonight, stay safe, and remember, the goal is not just to hear the latest claim first, but to understand what's real, what's not, and what steps actually protect your money and your peace of mind.